The Tao of Self-Confidence, Episode 27. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women finding their inner journey to self-confidence 5 days a week. Get your free audiobook by visiting thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Hello, friend. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of phenomenal women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap-Chan, and today I have a special guest. She is from Columbus, Ohio. She is a charisma and confidence coach, which is pretty perfect for the show because it's all about self-confidence. And, she's going to have a story for us that, will probably leave you, just wanting more. So her name is Mandy Lo Dickson. And Mandy, welcome to the show. Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to the listeners.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much. A little bit about me is have always been confident, but I think as we grow and age, there's always life experiences that kind of rock our confidence, if you will. And for me, that major thing was when my son was diagnosed with autism. It kind of, it rocked my world.
I know how that probably feels. Like, I have a cousin who also has autism, so to deal with that is challenging, I'm sure, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, you question, like, did I do something wrong? Did, all these things, and that inner critic, that voice inside of you starts to kind of pick away at you, and you're like, oh, it's something that I did, or, so it kind of wears on you, I think.
Yeah, that could be, I could see what you're saying, like, why did this happen to me? But sometimes we have to realize things happen for a reason, right? And because I have a friend too who his son was diagnosed with autism, and he saw it in a different light after, right? He's just like, no, God blessed me with a child that I can take care of, and maybe that could be the same thing for you.
Oh, it was. In fact, I would not be doing what I'm doing today if it weren't for my son's diagnosis, because I realized that I needed therapy. And when I went to a therapist, she turned me on to what I do with all of my clients, which is called EFT, or Emotional Freedom Technique. And I was actually able to completely change careers because I needed to be home with him. I needed to take him to, all his, occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, all of that stuff. And I was actually able to be a more present mom for him. And I teach this gift, the gift of, charisma and confidence to people all over the globe, which I literally would not have done had he not been diagnosed. I'd still be in the mortgage industry for sure.
That is awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that part of your story. And I just wanted to know, what is your cultural background?
Well, my cultural background is I am, I'm a Christian we grew up in the middle class in the Midwest, and, we struggled to make ends meet.
Well, thanks for sharing that. I know sometimes middle class can be like, it's a big area that, there's middle class, and then there's like lower middle class, and then there's like, it's such a big group that there's no real classification, right? Some people see middle class as a success, but some people, are struggling, right, being in a middle class family or middle class income. I mean, for me, I think there's just different classes of it.
Absolutely. Well, I classify it as macaroni and cheese and hot dogs were a meal together. That's like middle class. And if it was like, no, you either have hot dogs or you have macaroni and cheese, that's lower middle class. It's the macaroni and cheese theory.
That's funny. Well, if you ever in an Asian background, lower middle class was rice and soy sauce. So, I mean, that was a treat for us.
There you go. So, yes, exactly.
Thanks for sharing that. And what would be your favorite self-confidence quote?
This is actually, if your listeners are shy, they may want to plug their ears for this. But one of my favorite quotes, and it's something that I kind of came up with, is just, I'm no basic bitch, I live out loud. I live, openly, and I may be a bitch, but I'm no basic bitch.
I love that. I think it's great. And I'm sure the listeners are probably like saying, you know what, that is awesome. And we have to learn how to start living out loud, especially as women, right? We've been told so much to just like shut up and just listen to what everybody tells you. So it's great to see women out there doing the things that they love, right? Living the life that they choose to. I am grateful that you're out there doing the things that you love and living the life that you desire. So in your own words, how do you define self-confidence?
So self-confidence to me, my definition is knowing who I am, knowing that I'm a miracle. And even though, I do not color inside the lines and I have fallen on my face more than my fair share, but I'm still pretty freaking special, and I'm being comfortable enough in who I am that I can bless and release others around me. So, if they don't agree with that, that's fine. Being self-confident is just as much about allowing others to be them as it is to let me be me. So, like there are women that, they wouldn't have the word bitch in their slogan, and that's okay. So, like, you don't always have to, be super conservative, and you don't always have to be super bold, ballsy in your face. Like, who you are is beautiful and perfect just the way that it is.
I love that. It's true. Sometimes, in this world, we're all going to get judged. No matter what happens, right?
Yeah.
You might as well do the things that you love, right? Just do it. And there's this thing, you just can't please everybody. It's totally freaking impossible. So you might as well live the life that you want and just let the haters hate and you'll be happy, right? So I really love that definition. And, what was your life like before your discovery of self-confidence?
Self-confidence is a very fluid thing. It's waned and waxed over the years. When I was younger, like I had mentioned before, I was very confident. The things happened in my life that kind of shook my faith, my faith in God, in myself, in my abilities. And then when I became a mom, it was hard for me to, rock my previous level of self-confidence. I didn't feel good about myself. My body had changed. It felt like my intelligence had been questioned because for some reason in the corporate world, when you have a baby, all of a sudden people treat you differently. And, I felt expendable because I had identified so much with what I did as a career that, when that was gone, when that had shifted, I would refer to myself as, just a mom, which is insane because we all know how amazing rock stars that moms are. But that's kind of how I felt before.
Thanks for sharing that. And some women, right, they think a mom is just like, being a mom is like nothing big. But for me, being a mother is one of the greatest things I think a woman can ever be, right? I've seen my mother go through hell and back for us. And, sometimes I take her for granted and I realize she's done so much for us. So to all the women out there who are mothers, what you do for your children is so important. What you do as a mother is, I think, one of the most important roles ever. And some people just think it's nothing. So I'm glad you said that. I'm glad that you said that, being a mom is the greatest thing in the world, because I'm sure there's a lot of women out there who feel like, I'm just a mom. It's like, that's a big thing. I mean, first of all, you're carrying somebody for 9 months, right? You're going through hell and back trying to carry that little person inside you, have your feet swelling, having all kinds of pain, it's not something to take lightly. It's something to celebrate. So I'm really glad you mentioned that. So what was like your aha moment in your lifetime when you just realized, that you could do anything that you wanted to, that you were worth more than you realize?
Yeah, well, so what happened is basically I realized that I'm more than what I do, because I had wrapped, I'm more than the title or the role that I play in someone else's life. Labels like mom, wife, employee, all those things that we, when someone says like, oh, what do you do? Or, oh, I have 3 kids, or, you know what I mean? We define ourselves by our labels, but they really don't define us. Like, really define us as the miraculous beings that we are. And that's when I was like, whoa, I am so much more. I mean, yes, I'm a wife. Yes, I'm a mother. Yes, I'm a charisma coach, but I'm so much more. Like, the miracle that is inside of me is so much more. And the miracle that is inside each and every one of us is so much more.
Thanks for sharing that. And I believe that too, I've it's funny that we would always, describe ourselves by the things that we do. It's like, I'm a banker, I'm a singer.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember this one question that really stuck with me. It was like, tell me who you are without telling me what you do. And it's like, when you hear that, you're like, oh my God, like, who am I really, right?
Yeah.
So that's a really great question that you can ask yourself. And just, even when you write it down, you never realize, how powerful you can be. So thanks for sharing that. And what's your life like now after that discovery?
Amazing. It hasn't been the same. That's definitely for sure. My relationships have changed. My love for life is back. Even my career of deciding to teach others what is possible has changed. Everything is, it has definitely enhanced, because I think sometimes people are concerned about increasing their confidence because they're concerned about becoming a narcissist. I know a lot of women have expressed that concern, and it increases when you increase that self-love, you increase the juiciness, the luxurious connections that you have with other human beings. So your husband, your kids, your parents, your aunts, your uncles, everything increases. Everything is that much sweeter when you have that self-confidence.
I believe that as well. Just increasing that self-confidence can make a big difference. And I don't think I worry about, people, if people think I'm just too confident, or if people might think you're a narcissist. I think when you have a big heart, especially if you have a big heart for serving others, people can see that, right? People can see that you're doing something good. And, if you have a big purpose in life, it's, there's the right people will come to you and say, what you're doing is great. I love what you do. And I love that you have that confidence in you to do it, because there's a lot of women out there who wish they could do the things that they see most women do, but they can't because they just feel like they don't have enough confidence. They're not good enough, and you just have to realize you are, right? And these stories that we're sharing, can help you, right? Because everyone has been through challenges, through obstacles, and it's really just how you get over it and just keep moving, right? Just keep going. Because I believe that the challenges in your life are just, God or the universe just testing you to see how strong you really are. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
And to the woman who's listening to this episode, she's listened to your story, she loves what you're saying, and she's in her own journey to self-confidence. What would be that one tip you would give to her?
I always get a little choked up on this one because you're totally worth it. And I can see you sitting there, questioning if we're serious, if we're actually talking to you, and sometimes people think, oh, well, that's for other people, but not for me. And I want to say to them, you are totally worth it. You deserve to feel amazing about yourself. And don't worry, you can totally rock your self-confidence and be humble and heart-centered, and it goes together so beautifully. And you, my dear, are so worth it.
I love that. Thanks for the lovely advice. And it's true, right? We're all worth it. You're worth it. I'm worth it. To the person listening to this, you are worth it. You have, so much potential, so much talents and skills that you can give to the world. You just need to tap into it, right? You just have to surround yourself with amazing women who can lift you up until you're ready to realize your true power. Sometimes you might need a great support system. And this is why, this was one of my main reasons for doing this podcast. I just wanted women to have a platform where they can just go to and listen to stories of amazing women, sharing their stories, sharing their obstacles, and being able to come out of it. So, thank you so much for that. And Mandy, if the listeners wanted to get to know you a little bit more or wanted some of your coaching services, where can they reach you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They can reach me at support at Mandy, MandyLodickson.com. And actually, I have a free gift too. Do you want me to give them that link?
Yeah, sure. That would be great. Our listeners love free gifts.
I know. Well, it's a little video mini series, and it's called The Real Reason You Aren't Earning Your Worth, because I'm also a, money mindset cash coach as well. So, but it's definitely got some stuff in there to help boost your confidence. And the link is www.mandylodickson.com/the- or I guess it's like the minus sign, real-reason/.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing that free gift. I'm sure the listeners will love to check out that video series. And to all the listeners out there, if you want the links to Mandy's website and the free gift, just head on over to thetaoofselfconfidence.com and search for Mandy's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else we talked about. And I really just want to thank Mandy for sharing her journey and sharing her story with us on self-confidence. And I really love her quote, don't be a basic bitch.
I'm no basic bitch.
Okay, I was close. But I really appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Thank you so much.
No problem. And to the listeners out there, be on the lookout for another new episode of another woman's amazing journey to self-confidence, and I will talk to you later. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of The Tao of Self-Confidence. Subscribe to The Tao of Self-Confidence on iTunes and Stitcher to hear more stories of amazing women finding their inner journey to self-confidence.